Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. It is playoff time. We are going to review Week 18, and it looks like Black Monday is bleeding over into Black Tuesday, Somber Tuesday. I don't know what we're calling it.
Tumultuous Tuesday.
There you
go. It's the true fallout on Tuesday. I would say the biggest coaching firing seems to have come on Tuesday, and I genuinely do think it is residual from Black Monday. But we will get to that. Like, the reason that Tuesday is a big day is because of what happened on Monday.
A teaser. This is nothing against John Harbaugh. I think he's great. I had a wave of relief when he was fired, and I'll explain more, but I think this helps keep Brian Flores in Minnesota.
I knew that's how it was going to be. But hello, guys, and welcome into the show. The regular season has finished, and what an actually great weekend of football that was. The games that mattered all delivered. They were good games, all going down to the wire. So we'll have some short reactions to what happened in Week 18, only reacting to the Steelers game versus the Ravens, the Eagles and the Commanders, the Bears and the Lions as well. Before that, we'll talk mainly all about the coaches that have been fired on Monday, what their teams are looking for, what new coaches are on the block, before then giving our final weekly awards of Week 18 MVP, Week 18 Rookie MVP, Week 18 Overreaction, and finishing off with a segment that I like to call GMJ, where I ask Jay a question that I want to ask all GMs in the NFL, and Jay is obviously our resident podcast GM. But Jay, let's start with Black Monday and talking about the coaches being fired. And as we've already hinted to, it is carrying over into Tuesday with the firing of John Harbaugh just half an hour ago. Jay, does John Harbaugh immediately become the top candidate for any job after being fired by the Baltimore Ravens?
Not any job, but he's 1 and 1A for every job, because to me, it's him and Stefanski.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's the guy that goes in and builds your culture like immediately. Like he's one of those guys like the Tennessee Titans, where you haven't had culture there, where you haven't had a great culture there since Vrabel left. I think he's a great candidate to go there. I think teams like the Giants, where you already have all the pieces, if you can get a good offensive coordinator in New York, then, the culture is good with John Harbaugh, and then the offensive scheme becomes good because you've got Jackson Dart and you've got Malik Neighbors. I think that makes a lot of sense. As
everybody forgets Robinson. He's been so balling. They're going to have 2 elite receivers, and he gets so overlooked because they've had such a shit season.
Yeah, and Scatterboo and Tyron Tracy in the backfield as well. And then people forget that defensive line where it's Brian Burns, it's Dexter Lawrence, it's Abdul Carter. They've got pieces all over the place in New York. Oh, right. Sorry, Kevin Thibodeau as well. Yes, yeah, Thibodeau as well. But with John Harbaugh, Jay, I think he definitely goes in and makes the culture the best. But Jay, then the Ravens' job becomes so great. And the reason why I think John Harbaugh is maybe the number one candidate for all jobs is I actually think that Kevin Stefanski, the reason that the Baltimore Ravens sacked John Harbaugh here is they think that they can go get Kevin Stefanski and bring Kevin Stefanski to Baltimore. And Jay, we've been talking about the Baltimore Ravens and John Harbaugh a lot, but does this feel like the right decision for for the Baltimore Ravens and John Harbaugh after missing the playoffs?
Yeah, and I have a feeling this was more of a mutual thing than them just firing a coach they've had 18 years. But I really think, and this is just me, and we can debate this, but I think it was brilliant that Stefanski came out with his people. This was leaked, but it cleared the air. He never wanted Deshaun. He never wanted Baker to be gone. And he made all this known that this was all done without. And you and I have talked about this a long time. I think him and Andrew Berry were forced into it, and that's why they kept their jobs for so long. We had talked about this. We've talked a million times, what would they have been with Baker and all that draft capital and the extra money they could have spent and all of that? I think he ends up in New York. I really do, because I think he fits better with Jackson Dart than he does with Lamar.
Yeah, I just think the running game that he's able to show, the running game that Kevin Stefanski is able to show up with in Baltimore, like he builds his teams off the run game, and yes, like the Giants will have a pretty decent run game with Scatterboo and Tyron Tracy back there as well. But with Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, we had a Keaton Mitchell signing. Keaton Mitchell was one of the standouts of last season for the Baltimore Ravens before he got injured going into the playoffs, and he was the guy who returned it big for them to be able to like get into field goal range to finish off as well. So I think that run game that he's able to build would be impressive too.
I don't disagree, but my only question to that is I think everybody forgets that Derrick Henry is 32 years old.
Yeah, I do.
Running backs just die. They don't slowly become worse. And I'm not saying it happens next year, but I don't know. But maybe I'm being self-serving, thinking that he's going there. But I think it's the perfect job for him, and I think that's where he'll end up. But either way, I think everybody is fighting for those two. Also, the fact that
Kingsbury.
Yes, thank you. I keep getting Lane Kiffin, and it's not Lane Kiffin. Kingsbury's out there too. I think with Lamar, you have to go with an offensive head coach.
Yeah, has to be.
To me, it screams Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, I was thinking about Mike McCarthy. So the Baltimore Ravens have only had 3 coaches in their entire time of being a franchise. Like they're obviously a new franchise. They've only ever had 3 coaches. Mike McCarthy is that kind of guy that
they were the Browns.
Well, yeah, but they were they were technically an expansion team, though, aren't they?
But they weren't. The Browns moved to Baltimore, and then the Browns were the expansion team. Yeah, it was weird. But go ahead.
Yeah, all weird. But since they've been the Baltimore Ravens, they've only had 3 coaches, and with Mike McCarthy is that steady hand. He's a safe choice. Look, I think Stefanski is a safe choice as well. Does Stefanski want to stay in the AFC North? Is that a division that he wants to stay in? Does he want to go to New York? Like, if you're the head coach who goes and turns it around in New York for the New York Giants with exciting Jackson Dart and Scatterboo and just the hype that's around there, you become a living legend immediately. But Mike McCarthy's steady hand and a steady organization makes sense. And look, the Dallas Cowboys did get better when Mike McCarthy took over play calling from Kellen Moore. And I don't necessarily think that's not shade on Kellen Moore, because Kellen Moore then went to Philly and was great as well. It just so happens that the way that McCarthy liked to set it up suited the Cowboys for winning football games more through their run game. And the Baltimore Ravens do that. That's what the Baltimore Ravens have always wanted to rely on as well. So I don't think that Mike McCarthy is a bad shout either. Jade, do you think the Ravens were right to get rid of John Harbaugh here? Because what a lot of people say is, you've made a bad decision if he becomes the top coaching candidate for loads of teams. And we'll get to that with the Cleveland Browns and Kevin Stefanski. But this is slightly different, right?
Yeah, I don't think that necessarily holds true in this case, because like we've talked about before, sometimes there's time for a change, and he just hasn't been the guy to get them over the hump with Lamar. And it feels like some weird shit was going on with Lamar there too. So I think after 18 years, just time for a change. He'll go off and be great somewhere else. If they make a good hire, somebody else will come in and they will still be a good team. The Ravens defense actually started to look more impressive towards the end of the year. So that's something to build on. And when they missed the kick, I went in the group chat and I was in my head. I am going for a GIF of Ace Ventura, wide right, and they didn't have it. And I'm very disappointed in whoever sets up Meta's GIFs, because that was perfect. But yeah, I think it's just time for a change for both. I think it's time for a change for the organization and for John Harbaugh.
Yeah, I agree as well. And I think the Ravens are in a good position. We'll talk about the best coach, the best team that coaches could go to, like at the end of this segment. But with the Ravens, it's, Lamar Jackson started to look good again, like threw for 238 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a freak interception. Most importantly, Derrick Henry went for over 126 yards. Zay Flowers stepped up in that game as well. A lot of bad defending on that. We'll talk about that when we come to the Week 18 reactions as well. But the offense stepped up. The defense started to look a little better. Some good draft picks and a good coaching hire here, and the Baltimore Ravens should be good. And I agree with you that it was the right decision. But Jay, on the other side,
one last thing. Everybody forgets Derrick Henry had a fucking 8 to 10 week stretch where he couldn't get me more than fucking 9 to 12 fantasy points. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, he struggled at huge points at the beginning of the season, and then for the last few games he's had over 100 yards. Which great time to do it for you, obviously,
yes.
Which is annoying. Zay Flowers was the same for me in this. I watched Zay Flowers do that, and I was like, "Fuck you, man!" Like where was that all season? But the on the other side of this argument, in terms of like letting go of a head coach that immediately becomes a top hire, Jay, have the Cleveland Browns made a mistake by firing Kevin Stefanski? Because he became the immediate top hire for a lot of teams as well.
Yes, in a lot of ways. The only reason I'm saying no, and Stefanski did it to himself, this is why it was the right time to move on. He has proven he's got some issue with Shedeur Sanders. He has proven that this isn't who he wants, and it looks like this is who the Browns want to ride with. So in that case, yes, it was the right move to move on, but it is going to still hold true that you are going to have egg on your face because he is going to go somewhere. He is going to succeed. And if you don't succeed with your next head coach, you are going to be questioned the whole time on why you let a 2-time coach of the year go.
Yeah, I always have a problem when like GMs override coaches on players that should be playing. Right. Like, I agree that Shedeur Sanders is the best quarterback in Cleveland. Like, I agree with the GM on this. I just have a general problem with when your head coach has won coach of the year, having an ego fight over him not playing, him not wanting the player that you want, when actually I think the mistakes with the Cleveland Browns, the stuff with Kevin Stefanski, it didn't seem tenable. The actual mistake was getting rid of Baker, bringing in Deshaun, getting Dylan Gabriel. That was like, if you wanted Kevin Stefanski to play Shedeur, then fucking only draft Shedeur. Like Shedeur was still there when Dylan Gabriel was there. Like, why did you draft Dylan Gabriel? Who I feel like Dylan Gabriel was maybe Stefanski's guy. And then
I wonder if he wanted either. And I wonder if he was like, we're going to play Gabriel and make you look stupid.
Yeah, maybe
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe Stefanski wanted Kirk, but I think it's a weird decision from the Browns considering the coaching market out there and who's going to want to come to them. When actually, Jay, I think the market for the coaches looks really good. We've already spoken about the Ravens, the Giants' job.
And it looked bad 2 days ago. It looked awful.
Yeah.
When we did our last podcast, we were like, there's no coaching candidates. And now it's like, oh, there's 3.
Yeah, it's the coaching candidates look good, but also the teams look really good as well. Like the teams that you could go to, like last year, an option that on the table was the New York Jets. That was an option on the table. Aaron Glenn's got to be fucking kicking himself not to have been staying on as the defensive coordinator for the fucking Lions for one more year. He must be kicking himself because now he could probably, if he stayed as the defensive coordinator for the Lions, he could have a job at the Browns are a better team than the Jets. Aaron Glenn as a Browns coach would make loads of sense.
Did you see the rumors now I want to bring up about Josh McDaniels to the Cardinals?
If I was Josh McDaniels, I wouldn't move fucking muscle. Like, that makes no sense.
I fucking hope he takes that job.
Yeah. Why?
One less opening for Brian Flores.
Oh, okay. Sorry, self-serving reasons.
I'm not, dude. I am so homer on this. Like, yeah, keep Brian Flores. Give him fucking $8 million, $10 million a year. Keep Brian Flores.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I've seen Vance Joseph of the Denver Broncos being touted around as well. He seems like he's been touted around for a while, and I'm just like, okay.
Do we think?
Sure.
Do we really think outside of maybe Brian Flores that anybody goes with a defensive-minded head coach?
I think you may be forced to, for lack of offensive coordinators with the skill level to be a head coach. But no, I think that everybody just takes a punt on an offensive coordinator at this point.
And I don't know why, but I really feel like Cliff Kingsbury ends up in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I think let's talk a little bit of Cliff Kingsbury as well. So, Jay, obviously, Cliff Kingsbury has left the Giants. That makes him one of the hottest names on the market. Surely, the Commanders. Sorry, does Cliff Kingsbury though actually become one of the hottest names on the market? From like what I've been hearing, a lot of people are concerned in the league about him being a head coach again, that he doesn't really have the skill set to be a head coach, and he's a great offensive coordinator. With Morton, like John Morton has now been sacked by the Detroit Lions about an hour ago as well. Cliff Kingsbury to the Detroit Lions and become the offensive coordinator for the Lions as well.
I think if he didn't get a head coaching job, that's probably where he ends up. I agree with that. But I'm going to push back. We got to go back through history. Mike Shanahan, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, all of them were not good in their first spots. We can keep going. And they got better and better. They became great head coaches in their second spot. Cliff Kingsbury is a great offensive mind. He learned what not to do as a head coach. So I don't know why we think he wouldn't be better the second time around. And I also think what helps him is once again, you have a cup of coffee with Sean McVay, your fucking name gets out there and he's one of his close friends. Also, we're in a league now where I think most teams are like, get me an offensive head coach, because in most cases, if you get a great defensive coordinator, they're still not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think with Cliff Kingsbury, it's down to him. Like I think that Cliff Kingsbury might look at it and go, I don't really want to be an NFL head coach. He kind of showed it last year. There was a lot of job openings last year, and he signed a new deal to be the offensive coordinator with the Commanders.
But maybe his agent was telling him, you're not going to get any of these jobs. And now it's different because of what he did with Jaden Daniels.
And the job market is much, much better here as well. Like the job market is better. The teams that are alive are better. And he's had another year sat behind Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn is a good head coach. Like he's a good style of head coach, I think, Dan Quinn. He's taken the Falcons to a Super Bowl. I know they fucked up in the Super Bowl with play calling and stuff like that, but he was on that staff.
Yes.
He's with the Commanders. With the Commanders, they've gone to an NFC Championship game as well when they've been totally healthy. Like he's a good head coach. So I think there's 6 teams who need coaches currently. We'll find out what happens in Miami, but there's 6 teams that need coaches, and there's only 2 top candidates. And then
I was going to say 6 jobs or 6 teams, but only 4 jobs.
Yeah. There's 6 teams. There's 6 teams. There's 2 guys that are top. There's 2 guys who are the top tier guys. And then you have like Cliff Kingsbury. So if you're one of these teams, just go out and give the guy, like give him a fucking 3-year contract, 4-year contract if he wants it, and then get him going.
I just thought of this. So Cliff Kingsbury was at his best with running quarterbacks. There is a team in Baltimore that has the running quarterback.
Yeah, I was. I was thinking. So this is where I go. Shit, if it was Cliff Kingsbury going in, I really like your Mike McCarthy pick for the Baltimore Ravens. It's kind of put me off anybody else going there now outside of Kevin Stefanski. But it's like, Cliff Kingsbury, is that really a Baltimore Ravens head coach? But the Baltimore Ravens, Jay, they've not been to a Super Bowl in a fucking long time. So maybe do something different.
And as much as we all know how important defense is, offense puts your ass into the seats, and you got to be able to score a bunch to win in this league consistently.
Yeah, and look, with John Harbaugh and with the offensive scheme that they had there, they have been one of the highest scoring teams in the league for a long period of time, but they didn't look like doing that this season. And I do think with Cliff Kingsbury with Lamar Jackson, that'd be pretty exciting as well. I think, like the Falcons with Cliff Kingsbury, I feel like that would be like an interesting fit with the offensive pieces that they've got together. Go get Kyler Murray. Go get Kyler Murray, put him in the offensive system in Atlanta, and then give them Cliff Kingsbury as well.
What if the Giants whiff on Harbaugh and Stefanski?
Yeah, then it's Cliff Kingsbury is the next best guy, right?
Or McCarthy, right? Like,
Cliff Kingsbury is the next best scheme offensive guy, as long as you're comfortable with his head coaching ability, which I wouldn't be if I was a culture, like an organization desperate for a new culture. That would be my problem with hiring Cliff Kingsbury to those kind of places.
If we're marrying the coach to the best possible scenario for the team, not for the coach, but for the team, McCarthy goes to Vegas because they need an adult who knows what they're doing to rebuild this. And I hate the word, but groom a young quarterback. It just sounds so creepy to say that fucking word now. But the groom a young quarterback, he's done it before. He did it with Alex Smith. He's done it with Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? So then I think Stefanski's the best choice for Baltimore. You put Harbaugh in New York, then that leaves Cliff Kingsbury where? Because he's not going back to Arizona. So then he heads to Detroit.
Atlanta.
Well, I forget about Atlanta. That's a good job for Kingsbury, too. That's a good job for Stefanski if they let you keep Kirk Cousins. Like, I don't
Cleveland, okay. The Browns need a bit of a grown-up, but Cliff Kingsbury could go to the Browns and, they have
I think the Browns get who's ever left over.
Sorry?
I think the Browns get who's ever left over.
Yeah, just because it's the Browns, right? But like Tennessee,
it's Jimmy Haslam.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't trust the Browns. If you're the head coach of the Browns, you can't really trust the Browns. But like you look at Tennessee and you go, okay, yeah, Tennessee, that's a great job as well. Like Cam Ward, I think, had a great season. They started to play great towards the end of the season, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Like Tennessee is an interesting building block, but they need kind of a grown-up coach. Does Cliff Kingsbury suit there? Whereas Atlanta, they're keeping their same GM. Like Atlanta have decided they're keeping the same GM. So Cliff Kingsbury doesn't have to worry about any of that. Go get Kyler Murray, Cliff Kingsbury in Atlanta. That'd be really fucking exciting.
Atlanta's hiring a new GM because they promoted McKay to president.
Oh, right. Okay, sure. Well then,
Cliff Kingsbury, we're going to give you a better job.
Yeah. That's actually not a terrible. It's actually not a terrible thing for anybody in this system there. Jay, just a quick reaction on Arizona. They had to fire Jonathan Gannon, did they? And Raheem Morris, we've been talking about him needing to go for a long period of time as well. Like he had to go as well. And Pete Carroll, we said we'd be surprised if he made it on Monday as well. Like, are you surprised by any of those guys leaving? I'm almost surprised that Raheem Morris is gone, but he should have already been gone.
See, the only one that surprised me is Gannon, and it's not because I think he should have kept his job. He was a fence guy. Like, if they'd have kept him, I get it. If you didn't, I get it. But we kept hearing for 2 months that Jonathan Gannon's going nowhere, which we should have known was the kiss of death. Should have just known. But even Florio and them were doubling down, right? Like, I heard they're going to keep Gannon. So Schefter said just this week, before he got fired, I'd be surprised if John Gannon was fired, or Gannon. What is it, John? I don't remember. But yeah, and now he's gone. So it's like, okay, that one shocked me just for that reason.
I think the Cardinals might be the worst job out there. Like, I think that
I think the Raiders are worse, but it's going to be a lot more fun.
Yeah, I think with the Raiders, you get the first overall pick. So that's just a nice wild card to have.
If you trade Mad Max, you're going to get some decent draft picks too. And for the first time, I think it's the right time to trade him because you're rebuilding.
Yeah, and like the Cowboys have 2 first-round picks to give up, and they kind of could do with a guy like Max Crosby on the defensive end as well. Like, obviously, I know,
and he got a really nice contract. He did a really team-friendly contract.
Yeah, he's a good, like, I like Max Crosby. I'd be surprised. Like, he seems like a good guy. I would like Max Crosby to be a Dallas Cowboy, but we also need to sort out the cornerback position. But you immediately have, if you go into the Raiders, you immediately have a number one overall pick. You've got, you do have weapons. You have Brock Bowers and you have Ashton Genty, so you do have like immediate things to like go, okay, I can put my hat on this, and then you have to build out an offensive line, but Sean Payton's shown that you can build an offensive line in a couple of years just by like spending loads of money. Like, they have plenty of cap money to spend on like interior offensive linemen as well. Like, I think the Raiders is a good position to be. I think the Arizona Cardinals with, the Kyler Murray drama, you immediately have to walk in and sort out whatever the hell's going on with Kyler Murray and Jacoby Brissett. Like, the defense has great players, but why aren't they performing at all? Like, you also have the organization that's constantly voted the worst for looking after its players by the players in terms of facilities and everything like that as well. In Arizona, to me, it looks like the worst job on paper. So I'm surprised that the Cardinals let go. I'm surprised that the Cardinals let go when there's this many other teams looking for head coaches, but there's not that many head coaches out there. Like, you may as well just stick with your guy, because I think you might be the last one left.
They scare me the most because they interviewed Brian Flores last year.
Yeah,
or the year before. Whatever Gannon was hired, Flores was in that hiring cycle with him. It scares the shit out of me because a lot of times, if you watch, the Browns did it, other teams will do it. They give the job over. Freddie Kitchens comes in, and they interview Stefanski. They keep Kitchens for a year. They fire Kitchens. They bring Stefanski back and then hire him because they're like, oh, we made a mistake. We should have went with Stefanski. So I'm kind of hoping that the Cardinals aren't in that, like, oh, we should have went with Flores. So, yeah, that scares me. I have a plan for the Vikings, though, if you can keep Flores for one more year.
Yeah, give him the job.
You tell Harrison Smith, fuck it, don't come back next year. Come coach with Flores for a year and take over the defense when he leaves.
Yeah,
because he calls the defense on the field.
I don't know why you don't see more of that, really, like in teams. Like, you see it a lot in European football. Like, you see it a lot. Where
on the same team, or do they go coach on another team? I think that people get weird that they're not going to listen to a guy who used to be their teammate. But I think there's exceptions like Harrison Smith and different people.
So like a lot of the time, what you see, so Man United, for example, they've just fired their coach as well on Black Monday. We don't really have a thing like Black Monday for coaches getting fired because the season's like 9 months long.
Right.
But they've just sacked their coach as well for differences with the board, like about transfer signings and stuff. And what they've done is they have a guy who used to play for Man United, who's been on the coaching staff for a long period of time, who's going to take care of them for interim. Okay. He comes in and he takes the reins of it for a while. And that's happened. It happens a lot with Man United players, actually, because they have a lot of legends and stuff.
But he didn't really play with this group of team.
Yeah, weirdly, currently his son is currently playing for them as well. He's not old; like, he's played with some of these players. Like, he's
I'm just saying, like, it's weird with Harrison Smith because he played with all of these guys. But I think he's a dude that they all love and respect so much that he could do it. But I thought if he could get a year with Flores and then take over, because sooner or later, if Flores keeps doing this, he's getting a job.
Yeah, I think it would be stupid for Flores to take the thing with Flores is he has to nail this job. Like, he's the guy more than anyone who has to absolutely nail this job. So he has to wait to take his bet. And look,
but if he says no to a job, then he loses his lawsuit, I'm guessing.
Yeah, but like perhaps I think with, like, if the Baltimore Ravens come call, like, if Baltimore were being stupid and stayed in the same way that they have done for a long time, they would go get Brian Flores because, defensive coach, steady hand as head coach and stuff like that. Like, that makes actual sense for what the Baltimore Ravens have done for a long time. What they should do is do something different that they wouldn't normally do and go get an offensive head coach as well. But, I wouldn't take the Cardinals' opportunity if I was them. Jay,
I like the Cardinals job more than you do, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't want to sort out quarterback drama immediately as soon as I walk through the door. I think if I'm a head coach.
Yes, but if you're the head coach and you want Kyler Murray, then there is no quarterback drama.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Just walk straight in and say the guy is Kyler Murray.
You enjoy.
Have a good time, man. Enjoy yourself. Some big news coming out of Dallas, Jay. Matt Eberflus has been sacked, just like I said he should be if they don't perform defensively in these next couple of games. They didn't perform defensively in these couple of games. Are we being unfair on Matt Eberflus by saying he should be fired? Because obviously we get rid of Micah Parsons, they get rid of Trayvon Diggs, like the secondary doesn't play well. Is that really his fault? Or are the Dallas Cowboys right to fire Matt Eberflus?
It's odd. 2 days after Schefter says he's the number one coaching candidate, he gets fired as the defensive coordinator too. Like this was the number one coaching candidate before Kingsbury and fucking like Stefanski and Harbaugh. If you don't think he's the right guy, just move the fuck on.
Yeah, and I think, Jay, with Matt Eberflus, stay around for some Bengals chat in a second. We'll talk Bengals as our last piece on this. But Jay, with Matt Eberflus, he's been given players now. Like it's like yes, to start the season you lose your best defensive player, and that's who when you're doing all your preseason stuff, you take the job for. You expect to have Micah Parsons, right? You expect to have Micah Parsons.
Yeah, that's the conversation.
That's what we're just about to have. But when you're Matt Eberflus, you can be upset that they've lost Micah Parsons, but then you're given. We've been arguing that they now arguably have a better, more well-rounded defense by the end of this season than they did at the start of this season, especially with like with rookies coming on and Quinion Williams playing well, Kenny Clark coming in, Odigizua, like that defensive tackle area has been great. And Matt Eberflus has shown no creativity on the defensive side of the ball to make the best of what he's got. For some reason, he went away from rushing that 5 technique that was giving everybody hell that they played against, coming off beating the Eagles and beating the Chiefs. And which I know doesn't look like amazing now by the end of the season, but like coming off those wins when you're running that system and then he comes off it, it was the first bit of creativity that he's shown since being the Bears head coach and being the Cowboys defensive coordinator. Jay, I think Matt Eberflus is to blame for losing his job. I think it is the right decision for the Dallas Cowboys to move on. And Jay, I also wouldn't be surprised if Matt Eberflus does go and get a head coaching job at one of these teams, because Jay, there's actually 7 teams that need coaches, not 6, and there's not that many coaches to go around.
Just to play devil's advocate a little, none of that whole team had a chance to work together in the offseason at all. Yeah. But you already know my feelings on Eberflus. I laughed at you all when you hired him live on the show. I made a big joke about it. So never been a big fan of Eberflus, but just to be a little bit fair, none of these guys got a full offseason in that system. I don't like the system to begin with, though. When he was in Chicago, there was problems, and they all tried to blame the quarterback issues, and it was defensive issues also. So I have no problem with them moving on. My thing is, if you think you're done with the coach, just move the fuck on.
Yeah, 100%. Especially if it's a guy like a defensive coordinator and an offensive coordinator, right? Like, if it's your head coach, like, giving them a bit more time and a bit more grace, I understand. But I think with Matt Eberflus, I think you do have to be able to move on the fly a little bit. It's not like he was given these guys like 4 or 5 weeks ago. He was given these guys and given a bye to work on as well. Like he's had this offense for like a long period of time. And yes, Jay, I didn't say they were going to do well this season. So that's
no, but I love that meme, so I can't help myself. And I still haven't deleted it. It's been there for like 4 years. I still haven't deleted it.
Yeah, most importantly, clip that. Like, that's going to be funny. me going on my long thing, and then we have a comment at the bottom saying Dallas is a dumpster fire, and then Shannon Sharp coming up. Perfect. Wonderful.
We still them boys. That's what I'll name the short. We still them boys.
We still them boys.
With a question mark.
We're now more those boys now that Matt Eberflus is gone. But Jay, going on to coaches that are in jobs that we're surprised that they're still in jobs, we have Mike McDaniels and Zach Taylor. as the Cincinnati Bengals. Jay, why does Zach Taylor still have a job in Cincinnati? This doesn't make any sense.
No, I got it. No, it was revealed to us this week by Adam Schefter. He is Joe Burrow's guy.
So Joe Burrow likes him. See, that's the thing that I don't get about Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. Like that's one of the things that I don't get about Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, because it's you have Zach Taylor, and he comes out, Joe Burrow, and he says all of this stuff about needing to be better, how I'm depressed playing football. Who's the one consistent guy throughout this whole entire fucking shit show?
We have been screaming for 3 years to fire him, so I don't know.
Yeah, since he went to the... So I don't understand then. If it's because he's Joe Burrow's guy, then you've got to ask Joe Burrow, what the fuck do you want? Like, because you've got to look at some point, your head coach is not getting the offense right. And whether you think it's like the defense's fault that you're not making the playoffs, which is fair, it can also be argued that you're not getting the offense right either. And you've just been beaten by the Browns in the final game of the season. Yeah, and I understand. So
I get that, but I don't think I agree. Like with when Adam Schefter said that is Burrow's guy and Burrow went to bat for him, I think that's all it takes.
Yeah, and I think there's also I also think, Jay, there's an element of, you know, when you have the poorest owner in the league, right? Like you have the poorest owner in the league. You don't want to pay two coaches at the same time. Like, I think there's an element of that as well. And we'll get on to, I have an opinion on that later on as to what fans should be able to do in their teams when they're dissatisfied with what's going on as well. But I'm amazed at this.
No, this statement is 100% true, though, that offensive line is awful. It's been awful. They've tried to fix it, and they still haven't. So it's awful, not for a lack of trying, but at some point, somebody has to take responsibility for the fact that it's awful and that Joe Burrow's getting murdered. Like, you are putting – this guy has been hurt so much, and I don't even want to say he's injury-prone because he has been murdered on the field.
Yeah, and I think with the Bengals, there has to be something that Zach Taylor takes from that it's, you have had the GM putting money into the offensive line and you've not been able to work it out either. So is it your scheme? Is it Joe's having to hold on to the ball too long? Nobody believes that you're running the football at all. Like, no one believes that the Cincinnati Bengals are running it, even though they have a semi-decent short game and short pass game extension of the run deal. They don't have like an in-between the tackles run game. Like, there has to be something that you take on board from that as well. Like, fucking Kyle Shanahan has one of the worst offensive lines in the league, player to player, but he's able to hide them by his great offensive play calling. And Zach Taylor doesn't do that. And you're right, he's ruining Joe Burrow's prime right now. Like, they need to make this move. And Jay, with Kevin Stefanski out there, surely that's a great candidate to come into the Cincinnati Bengals. Kevin Stefanski would suit so well.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes sense if that's who Burrow wants. You stick with. You have an owner that's been proven to be cheap. He doesn't want to pay two coaches. We watched everything that went down with Carson back in the day. Like, it's just this ongoing problem when you have bad ownership too, that it's really hard to get a team. And then because they made the playoffs with Carson Palmer, and then they made the playoffs with the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, then they make the playoffs in the Super Bowl with Joe Burrow. They think that he can just keep being cheap, and at some point it's going to pay off. But it's horrible for the fans.
Yeah, and it's terrible for the fans, and I do agree with this, that the offense is solid, but there comes a point with the play calling. The Dallas Cowboys have this as well. It's where, as Jay calls Brian Schottenheimer, Sean off Shotty. needs
Start off shoddy.
needs to change his play calling as well. It's, you have a shit defense, so why the fuck are you scoring so quickly? Like, run the ball, get a run game assembled. That comes down to your head coach and your offensive play caller to come together. And luckily, the Bengals, it's the same fucking guy. Like, come in and get them together and say, we don't have the right defense now. We need to be able to score more slowly. We need to control clock. And the Bengals just don't do that with Zach Taylor in charge. And they should be able to do that. They have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, who's been really great this season, and most importantly, fucking Joe Burrow, and they've been terrible. And Jay, there needs to be something that fans can do when they feel like they're being really, like, there needs to be something, and I have no idea what fans can do when they just feel like they're being like treated this way. But we'll come on to that later in the show. There's a part where I want to talk about that.
It's the one thing I fall back on because I have a lot of heartbreak as a Viking fan, right? But it's like, well, at least I know my ownership is throwing as much money as they can to try to fix the problem. They're not afraid to. So it gives you a little solace. It still sucks. But I can't imagine if you're looking at your ownership and going, why don't you give a fuck about this team or the players? And the NFL should do better at making sure moving forward as they sell teams that these owners want to win, not just profit from owning a franchise.
Yeah, I think with Dallas, like with Jerry Jones there, I never have the feeling that Jerry doesn't want to win. I just question his actual genuine cognitive capability. I'm just genuinely worried about his cognitive capability in Jerry Jones. So I feel sorry for Bengals fans. They've been screwed over by Zach Taylor.
I'm cheering for 3 teams in the playoffs. I'm not going to lie. I'm riding with the Niners, the Jags, and anybody who plays the Packers.
I'm Seahawks all the way. That's where I am.
I'm not mad if Sam Darnold wins it, and I don't think that there's a shot in hell, but if Adam Thielen could get a ring with the Steelers on the way out, I would be so happy for him.
Yeah, I'm full Seahawks at the moment because it would just be really funny if Sam Darnold went out and had a great season with the Vikings, went out and won the Super Bowl, and we could just say once and for all that the New York Jets are the worst franchise in the NFL. Like, it's like we can just say that, just have it done, just have it out there, because they had that guy and they threw him away because they can't develop guys as well. And Sam Darnold was my guy at that point as well. Yeah, Jerry should have been retired a while ago. Jay, final coach that will be surprised is still in a job, Mike McDaniels. I'm actually not surprised that Mike McDaniels is still in the job. My last few overreactions have been to say, no, I'm not saying that he should.
No, I'm just leaving because Mike McDaniel still has a job, not because of you, because I give up on what's going on in Miami.
Yeah, it's I've been saying for the past few weeks, the Miami Dolphins are going to stick up with Mike McDaniels. They're going to stick with him. He's playing his way into being able to stay. And Jay, what the hell are they doing with Mike McDaniels still being there?
The only thing I can think of is they were like, there's not a lot of good coaches in this cycle, so we're just going to ride this and see what happens. Because I think they're going to part ways with Tua, and they're going to have to eat $90 million in cap space, and they're going to be a shit show anyway while riding out that $90 million in cap. Even though Denver showed you can do it, Denver had to eat 85 from Russell Wilson, and they were still paying it off this year. So Denver proved you can turn it around. But I think that's what they're looking at. And this isn't like the worst shot at McDaniel. Like, it's just, it hasn't worked. And I think he would have been better served, like we talked about, if you just took your ass to Detroit and been their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and I mean, with Miami, they ended up, 7-10. They had a better record than the Bengals, than the Chiefs, than the Commanders. Some good teams in there. They only finished half a game behind Dallas. Like, it wasn't actually, in terms of record, the worst ever. But they're keeping McDaniels because of that run game that he's able to develop. And I agree with you. I think they've gone, look, we'll be one, if we get rid of McDaniels, we'll be one of 8 teams without a head coach, and we're in possibly the worst position. Not necessarily worse They're not the worst roster. They're just in the worst position for someone who wants to come in and build something, to rebuild something quickly. Will John Harbaugh want to go there? Will Kevin Stefanski want to go there? Is that the places you want to go? So they're kind of with eight jobs, and then they're losing out on those guys.
I do have an idea for them. I don't know if it would happen, but it seems like some weird shit, like we said, vibes with Lamar and Baltimore, and it's happened. He's a Miami guy. He spends all of his offseason and free time in Miami. Maybe Miami just offer up a boatload of fucking picks, go get Lamar, and build from there. I don't know.
Is Lamar from Miami or is he from Louisiana? Is that
okay? Well, he spends all of his off seasons in Miami, but I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering. But
no, yeah, I just assumed that you could be right. You definitely could be right. So
imagine if he went to Louisville, didn't he? But that's in Kentucky. But imagine if Lamar came in with that run game.
He's born in Florida.
There you go.
Pompano Beach, Florida. And people forget he's only 28. Like, he's in his prime.
Yeah, like Lamar comes in with them on A-Chan, like the run game that they can have together. I don't think they'll be the best coached organization. I do think they'd have like
Tyreek Hill back. If he's like anything like Tyreek Hill after the injury, I don't know.
Yeah, they'd have one of the more interesting schemes in the NFL. They're also like, because of the way that the kind of AFC and NFC played out, they're drafting 11th after 7 wins. Like, that's not terrible. Like, we've seen people drafting way higher than that after only 7 wins as well. So, I agree that they need to move on from Tua. They've already benched him. He played at Louisville, which is why I got confused with Louisiana, my American geography.
Yep, him and Teddy Two Gloves.
But Jay, just to finish off our segment on Black Monday, in your opinion, what are the best available coaching jobs in the NFL? What is the best available coaching job in the NFL?
Baltimore, because you have a quarterback, but I think a close second is Atlanta, who I completely forgot was open.
Yeah, I think for me it's Baltimore, Giants, Atlanta, and then I've actually got the Browns up there. If you can cope with the ownership, then the Titans, then the Raiders, then the Cardinals. I think the Titans is an interesting thing as well.
I like the Cardinals job. I know you don't. And Nate, I'm a Bucks fan, and Maddie's wherever Luka Doncic is.
That's not entirely true. Let's put the comment up. I have a fun thing to say, but just before we go to a break, we can talk about this. I always supported the Dallas Mavericks because it was where Kristaps Porzingis is, and I live in Latvia. And then after Porzingis moved, I continued to support the Dallas Mavericks. But then I just went, right, Luka's gone. Like, that's just the most ridiculous trade of all time. So now the Lakers are the easiest team for me to watch. So I do support the Lakers because Luka's gone there. So you weren't wrong. It's just
quick though. I want to let you know, Nate, tonight you'll have to see what time. It's a little bit after our show. Well Beyond the Arc comes on, which is our NBA show on the channel. And Montana and David, both big Laker fans. And Ryan, who is epic at trolling, always lets them know that they're LeBron sexuals. So I thought that was a fucking hilarious term that I have heard that I had never heard before.
Yes,
I don't hate LeBron. I am not a LeBron hater, so I am not on the team of you. Maddie and I love greatness, so you're not going to see us hate on somebody just because they're great.
So, Nate, make sure to stay on after us and stay on for the Well Beyond the Arc as well, because they are Lakers fans and they will be talking. They do talk a lot of Lakers because, you know, just like the Dallas Cowboys, they're the people who everybody wants to talk about, right? But Jay, we're going to need a break. We need a quick break. And there is a great way that you can support us, guys. One, you need to like and subscribe. They're the number one thing. So that's all we ask of everybody. Click the bell so you can keep up to date with all of our shows. But another way that you can support us, guys, is by powering the show through powering us through the power of caffeine.
All right, we'll see you in less than a minute.
Me and Jay set up the Yankee and the Brit nearly 5 years ago. And in that time, we've gone up to about 7 shows a week. And with the help of our loyal community, we've been able to keep growing. But we want to grow even more. And that's why just giving $5 or £5 could really help us out in our Buy Me a Coffee fund. And all you have to do is hit the Buy Me a Coffee link in our YouTube descriptions that'll be on every single video. You can give £5, $5, you can give it once, you can give it every month. And what that does is it allows us to grow and even buy ourselves a coffee every once in a while.
Yeah, guys, so if you can support us, then that would be absolutely great. You can scan the QR code at the top of the screen, or you can click the link at the bottom of the in the top of the description at the bottom of this video as well. Jesus, scrambled myself right up there. But you can help us out. That would be amazing. But as we say, most important to like and subscribe and keep the comments going in the chat. We love to see it. As you see, we talk to the people who comment in our chats, unlike other shows as well. We put you up on screen and we actually talk to you guys. So, Jay, I have exciting news. I have exciting news that relates to support as well. I'm going to be running the Riga Half Marathon this year for a charity for my little cousin who has heart defects as well. So I will be putting a link in the description of our videos of that as well, where you can go to a GoFundMe.
Half marathon is 13K?
21K. Yeah, 21 kilometers.
21K. Damn.
30 miles.
All right, have fun. It's the only time in the U.S. we use kilometers is in running.
Right? Yeah, it's 13.1 miles. It is. Yeah, but it'll be fun.
And then the only time you ever hear kilos, something's going down.
Yeah, I've always thought about that. The British.
It's because jugs got trafficked mostly from outside of the U.S., so they were sold to us in kilos.
Yeah, the British are even more weird than you guys. Like, we really do just fucking switch between it all. Like, we measure everything in meters until it comes to height, where it's feet and inches. And then we measure everything in kilos until it comes to weight of people. It's only weight of people where you do it by.
And then it's stones, which I don't understand.
Stones and pounds. Stones and pounds, which I don't really get either. I just weigh in kilos now, but like lots of people do. And then the road signs all have miles, but we do everything in kilometers in school and stuff. So who the fuck knows?
No, I remember the first time I asked you about how you figure out the miles per hour, and you're like, no, we drive in miles. And I'm like, really? Because when I was in Canada, thank God my speedometer had both, or I'd have never known how fast to go.
Yeah, we do miles. Yeah, we do miles an hour as well. But Jay, let's move on to some reactions to week 18, the final week of the regular season. We haven't got many games to talk about in this one because there were only a couple that made any changes whatsoever. And if you want to see our reaction to Saturday's games in the 49ers and the Seahawks and the Bucks and the Panthers, then you can go back and watch our show that we did on Sunday, because that's where we talk about those Saturday games. But Jay, let's start with the game that meant the most, the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Baltimore Ravens. The Steelers sealed their place in the playoffs once again. Jay, it was a weird game. I thought the Ravens came out immediately strong in the offensive side of the ball, and then they slowed right down before everything then exploding into an offensive frenzy in the fourth quarter. Jay, what led to the ball just being moved around all the time in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I even said in our group chat, I was like, nobody could score it, and then all of a sudden at the end of the fourth quarter, nobody can be stopped. It was crazy how the game just switched. It's like both teams stepped it up a notch, and then these are two questionable defenses, so that helped. But it was a crazy game at the end.
Yeah, I think at the end of the game, I think what ended up happening is you have those two completely broken plays by the Pittsburgh Steelers. It looked like it. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, they get to Lamar, and then Lamar does some fucking hero shit, breaks 2 sacks, ducks underneath two guys, breaks out, and then Zay Flowers is somehow being tracked down the field by Patrick Queen, which how the fuck do you let that happen at the end of the game? Like, Patrick Queen's a good linebacker, but to have him tracking Zay Flowers down the field, especially when Rashad Bateman isn't there, you're going to get cooked. And then the second time is for the Steelers is there's no one back there. Zay Flowers just pops out and there's just no one in front of him. And it looks like it was Jalen Ramsey that got missed, who obviously has been playing safety this year, hasn't really played safety at any other time in his career coming into this year. So that Steelers defense really needs to build itself up in the secondary. Like they need to sort themselves out there when they're going forward to the playoffs. And I'm not sure how they can do it because it's something that we've seen throughout. And also, Jay, I think the Ravens were moving the ball. In this game, as I was watching it, the Ravens looked like the better team to me. I don't know if you had the same feeling. I feel like the Ravens were better. There was a freak interception to TJ Watt after being knocked down, and it just ends up in his hands after taking 2 deflections on the way to the ground. So I thought the Ravens looked like the better team in this one as well.
Yeah, and when I was watching the game, I was shocked on how both quarterbacks missed some really, pivotal plays that could have went for big plays or even touchdowns. So that was kind of shocking to me. I was actually more shocked to see Aaron Rodgers miss those throws than I was Lamar. But I felt like the Ravens controlled the game, but I also felt like they were fucking around and leaving the Steelers in the game, which I thought, is this going to come back and backfire on them? Which then Rodgers drives them down, they score, and I'm like, this is over because Baltimore's just not been great moving the ball. And then all of a sudden, Baltimore's in field goal range, and then you're like, wow, well, that sucks for Aaron Rodgers and Adam Thielen. You know what I mean? Because it might be both of theirs last game, even though after listening to Rodgers, I don't think he's done. But it was like, wow, this game was crazy at the end. And there's no way. I felt so bad for that rookie kicker, Maddie. I felt so bad for that fucking rookie kicker.
Yeah, I think with the Steelers as well, it's important to mention the way that they moved the ball and got that touchdown is they only just managed to creep into the red zone. They started to get an semblance of a run game together, and then Chidobe Awuzie slips on a nice route by Austin, but Awuzie shouldn't be falling over at that point. And it's because, the Ravens did fuck around that slip actually meant so much. And then fucking Boswell misses the kick. Keaton Mitchell has a great special teams play coming down the field. And then, as you say, Jay, Tyler Loop misses to the wide right. Jay, what do you think about DeAndre Hopkins coming out after the game and said he was asked about his experience at Baltimore, and he said we were only 3 yards wide right of making the postseason. What did you think about that? Because I don't love that from DeAndre Hopkins.
I don't like it either because we can go back to a bunch of plays in the game that could have went differently. No game comes down to one play, really. And what about on the sidelines when you're standing there at the first down, Lamar's moving out, you stand there, Lamar overthrows you. I don't know who was wrong, but Lamar wanted you to go upfield. You just stood there, and you guys missed what could have been a touchdown on that play. Then we're not even talking about this kick because he was so wide open that he runs maybe to the end zone on that play.
Yeah, I worry for look, now that the coach has changed, it doesn't really matter going into next season. They'll have a new message when they walk in next season. But if that's what the players are taking away from this, the Ravens were shit all season. The only reason that they're playing for a playoff spot in that was because a divisional opponent, if you win your division, you go to the playoffs. That's the only reason that they were even in the race for the playoffs. If they have a worse record than teams who also haven't made the playoffs as well. It's down to whole things across the season just not being good enough at all. And to come out after a rookie kicker has just kicked it wide right on a windy day when one of the most experienced kickers in the NFL who hasn't missed an extra point all season, also misses an extra point as well, to come out and say, oh, we were only 3 yards wide, right? It's like, I know it's probably just an emotional thing. I know he probably hasn't thought about it and he was actually trying to be positive. But if that's the message that the Baltimore Ravens players are taking, then I think that's a fucked up message to take into next season, because the reason you didn't make the postseason is you were shit throughout the rest of the season. It actually had very little to do with this game.
And not only did you put it on a kicker who's been solid for you all year, you put it on a rookie teammate. I didn't like that either.
Yeah, exactly. I have a real problem with outfield players taking like offensive and defensive players taking the piss out of kickers and stuff, because
I was just gonna say, as a vet, you should have took that on you, even if it wasn't true. Like, there's so much I could have done better, and and I think with
kickers, like I think they deserve the utmost respect. Like, I do get it from like a past idea of what kickers were, or like your fucking kicker in college who's going to be selling insurance next week, or like whatever. Like, I understand, like, okay, this is a bit shit, but the guys who are on the field now doing the kicking, you couldn't do what they do. That's something that you couldn't do, and they win you games. Good kickers win you fucking games, and you couldn't do what they do. So I think there needs to be more respect for kickers in the game, because I've seen loads of stuff from the Baltimore Ravens, like beat writers and everything, saying, oh, we were only a kick away, like, oh, kickers, fucking kickers, like all of that kind of stuff. It's like, well, guys, fucking, you have an entire season to get into the playoffs. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're blaming it on the kicker. It doesn't make sense to me. Jay, the final thing, looking ahead to the playoffs for the Pittsburgh Steelers, with DK Metcalf now reinstated, are the Pittsburgh Steelers now more dangerous in the playoffs than they have been in years? They've been making the playoffs regularly. Is this the most dangerous that the Steelers have been?
Sure. But
yeah,
I still don't think they're going to get far. But one thing that this did do for them is we saw Rodgers had a connection with Austin in this season, right? I mean, he did some good things from my bench and in a bye week for me this year. But DK coming back after now Rodgers has gotten some rhythm with Adam Thielen, Austin. He had big plays to his tight ends all year. Maybe it just opens up the offense more. Rodgers feels more comfortable with guys. And DK is your number one receiver. So, yeah, they have more power on this offense than they've had in past years. But I still don't think it equates to a deep playoff run.
Yeah,
that defense, though, is what really that has me questioning. And their ability to score in the red zone is awful.
Yeah, their defensive line is back healthy again. So Cam Hayward looked good. Hightower looked good. TJ Watt was on the field, considering the fucking rehab that he's had to go through just to be there. That's incredible. The fact he's even there and he'll just get better as well. They do need to figure out that scheme, because Kyle Duggar at safety has looked great since he's come in, and he laid a couple of hits on Derrick Henry that just left him completely still as well. And then I feel like they're getting blown out of the other safety position, where Jalen Ramsey sometimes has been making excellent plays at safety, and then sometimes they're just getting lost in the scheme. So maybe just simplifying things a little, especially when you're coming up against the Houston Texans next. So the Texans offense hasn't been firing on all cylinders. That's all. Damn it. Oh, I keep on half sneezing. But the Texans offense haven't been entirely firing on all cylinders. And then you also have DK Metcalf, who stretches the field for you. Calvin Austin, who also stretches the field for you. So at least you can stretch that defense a little bit. I don't think they're going to, we'll talk about it on Thursday. Come and watch our preview shows on Thursday.
Yeah, Rodgers going to get that ball out quick, but yes.
Yeah, he's going to be getting that ball out like so fast. But come watch our show, our preview show on Thursday. I do think that DK Metcalf coming back is a big deal for them. There was points in that game where he was throwing down the field shots, and I thought, if that's DK Metcalf, he has the size to make that play. And without DK Metcalf, they don't have the size or the ability to stretch the field to make that play. Jade, the two other games had to do with the NFC number 2 seed. The Philadelphia Eagles went up against the Washington Commanders. The Chicago Bears went up against the Detroit Lions, and they both lost. All the Eagles had to do was go out and win against the Washington Commanders, who had Josh Jacobs playing who had Jacobs playing back there at quarterback. Jay, Josh Johnson, sorry, thank you. How much are the Philadelphia Eagles going to regret not playing their starters in order to get the second seed in the playoffs?
Hitman and I have been debating this in our group chat for 2 weeks, and I was like, you have to play your starters. You have to win this game. No, the 2 seed is important. If the 1 seed gets knocked out, the road to the Super Bowl goes through you. You get guaranteed 2 home games if you win. Like, it is huge. And they didn't. And they let it slip through their fingers. And this is the shit we've been talking about. Like, what kind of fucking decisions are they making? There is something going on in Philadelphia that is finally blowing over or boiling over that's been going on for the last couple of years. And I don't know about the decision making. And this is the first time where I'm like, yeah, you don't make the NFC Championship game, you might want to move on from Sirianni. And I've been cheerleading for Sirianni for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think with Sirianni, I think he's safe for another year just because of the coaching options and the amount of teams looking for coaches. But I mean, the Eagles immediately become the best job. Like over the Ravens, they become the best job if they get rid of Sirianni. So will these guys wait, like Stefanski and Harbaugh, will they wait to see any potential fallout from the playoff?
Maybe Matt Nagy.
Matt Nagy steps up into the position, you think?
I just say he's been under Andy Reid now, and he knows he's been a coach before. Yeah. Maybe he'd be better. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe worth the shot, right? But with that, it's not just the difference between it can go through Philadelphia, it can go through if the Seahawks lose, it could go through Philadelphia. They at least get another home game as well. It's not just that difference. It's the difference between playing the San Francisco 49ers and the Green Bay Packers. That's the difference that you've got in these teams. The Green Bay Packers, without Micah Parsons, Jordan Love's been banged up and has not played for 3 weeks now.
4-game losing streak.
4-game losing streak. They're not the same team, the Green Bay Packers, at all, than what we thought they were going to be. That's what you were going to go up against in the divisional round if you won this game. And I think there was, I do understand resting guys on the Philadelphia Eagles. I do understand it because, they're an older team. They could probably do with that rest. They don't need that time to play. But it was a big assumption to think the Bears were going to go out and beat the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell doesn't, if they wanted, we said before the show, do the players respect Dan Campbell enough to go out and play? Well, they did. Clearly that's what happened. And also, Dan Campbell, there's only one guy who's even close to knowing Ben Johnson's offense that well as Caleb Williams, for example, and it's Dan Campbell. He knows that offense. Jared Goff knows Ben Johnson's offense. It was never out of the realms of possibility that the Bears were going to lose that game. So you at least need to play your starting, especially your starting defense, I thought, for a half. Play them for the first half to just put the game out of reach, and then pull them depending on what's going on in the Bears game at Soldier Field.
You rest your really banged up starters, and you play everybody else, and you go win that fucking game.
Yeah, I was surprised because when we were reviewing the show, it looked like they were actually going to start their offensive players. It looked like Jalen Hurts was going to start. It looked like, because they hadn't been given any designations of out like other players on the defense had, and they need that chemistry, the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think they'll come to regret that. I think they might get beat by the 49ers to be honest. Jay, the Chicago Bears then went up against the Detroit Lions. Are you surprised that a Ben Johnson-led Bears team seemed to come in underprepared? They just got better throughout the game. They seem to be coming in completely underprepared for this game.
Yeah, and I think another thing that hurts is that Detroit defense for years has been playing every training camp against Ben Johnson's offense. Ben Johnson's been perfecting his trick plays and his offense against that defense in training camp for years. So they knew Ben Johnson. Yeah.
It is fair. They know Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson knows them as well. Important to mention.
Right. Ben But Johnson Caleb doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Caleb doesn't. So adding new stuff in, like they're looking ahead to the playoffs. I was just surprised that Ben Johnson's team came in kind of so undercooked on this. And to be honest, Jay, it shouldn't have been this close. The Bears go out and they score 16 points in the fourth quarter. Like it shouldn't have really been this close. It looks like the Bears were going to pull it off. But when you look at stats, like they were completely outdone in terms of yardage. The Lions went and scored 400 yards on this Bears team. Like the Lions should have really come away with way more points than they did as well. Jared Goff threw for 331 yards. Jameer Gibbs ran for 80 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown finished with 11 receptions for 136 yards. Like you think with that amount of yardage, the game would be kind of put away by then. So the Lions were also giving them the opportunity to stay in the game. Really, this game should have been cooked much earlier than it was.
No, I agree. It did make me think to some points in the game, like, okay, the Bears are going to fuck around and lose the second seed and then get bounced, because I had said previously the Bears' only shot at a Super Bowl, I truly believe, was the 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, Seattle have got to play. Who might Seattle have to play? Like, Seattle might have to play San Francisco again. Like that isn't really out of the realms of possibility of which way that goes as well. So securing that second seed was good, but they didn't do it on their own terms by any means.
Yeah, they could end up playing the Rams.
Yeah. Jay, should Chicago be worried about their defensive performances in this back half of the season going into the playoffs? Because they only gave up 19 points against the Lions, but they were getting cooked a lot of the time on the by the Lions offense.
The Bears defense is only as good as it is because they're a turnover machine, and they live in on those turnovers. And if they don't get those turnovers, then they're probably in trouble. So if the game that they stop creating turnovers is the game that they're in trouble.
Yeah, and I think with the Bears as well, I can't remember what the stat is. They're something like 10-1 when they get 2 or more turnovers, but that's most teams have a huge winning record when they get 2 or more turnovers, so that's never.
Don't they lead the league in turnovers?
Yeah, they do lead the league in turnovers. Yeah, but then they also lead the league in wins when they get 2 turnovers. But most teams get. If you get 2 turnovers, then you have a much better chance of winning. The big deal is that they live off turnovers, and Caleb Williams doesn't turn the ball over, right? So they need to figure out something. There's not much time to figure out something. I mean, they're going up against the Packers team that they should. It's going to be windy. It's going to be rough. It's going to be a running game that kind of works for the Bears a lot against the Packers.
This has to be said, though. No matter what happens in the playoffs, this season was a win for the Bears.
Yeah, huge win. To go worst to first, great win.
And they look great. They look great. They started off rough as hell and then went on like an 8-9 game winning streak or whatever it was. They look great.
Yeah, they need to figure out what's up with their defense going into next season. But,
also, Bears fans will tell you they had the toughest strength of schedule, but that was off of last year's records. This year's records, they're second to the weakest schedule.
Yeah, right. It's and also there's things like that's you play in the NFC North, so you're gonna have a strong schedule because of the other teams in your division as well, right? Jay, that's it for reacting to Week 18. Is there any other points of order in terms of games that you wanted to mention? I thought the Vikings looked good.
Yeah, I think the Vikings go out, feel good moment, 4-2 in the division. They finish up on the year, half game out of the playoffs. They're actually the highest ranked team to not play the playoffs because we draft 18th. So but sad they didn't make the playoffs. But I really like what I seen from J.J. McCarthy when he played. I know people were calling him out for leaving the game at halftime, but the kid couldn't even hold on to the fucking football. So I don't know what they wanted him to do. Also, Kevin O'Connell has came out and said on Paul Allen's show that, like we both thought, JJ could have played through a lot of those weeks of injuries, but they didn't want him playing hurt in his first season because they're being smart about developing the quarterback. So I like Minnesota's going, but I have to give a shout out Jalen Redmond, great at defensive tackle, so it's great to see a guy who came in that low in the league. And Dallas Turner has been on fucking fire. So that's a great thing moving forward also.
Yeah, I think the Vikings have really got themselves in a good situation going into next year, actually. After what all the media has been saying about them, all the jokes.
Five-game winning streak after they found out they weren't going to the playoffs. I think that shows a lot of heart.
Yeah, I agree. And I just think that JJ is definitely an NFL quarterback. Like, he looks good. Like, whenever he plays, he looks good. Like, I understand, like, he needs to play hurt. Like, next year, he's going to need to play hurt. I understand why Kevin O'Connell doesn't put him in there, and they're trying to give him the best situation. But next year, he needs to play hurt. I saw he refused the Tylenol. Is it Toradol injection? I saw he refused that, and that's why he was kind of in so much pain. But should he have to take those fucking injections when it's half a game out from finishing the season? And he can't grip the fucking football?
The reason he didn't take it is because when he took it in his knee, he couldn't feel his knee, and he didn't want to take it in his hand because how do you not feel your throwing hand?
Yeah, exactly. And I think as well, like, look, he needs to work out. JJ McCarthy needs to work out when to go fucking crazy 9 alter ego, whatever he calls it, and when to like take a fucking breather. Wow. He's taking a few too many hits, and that fucking like you can't taunt as a quarterback. Don't taunt defenders when you make a great play. Like, I get it. But
okay.
Like,
I didn't love the penalty, but I'm not mad at him because I think he'll learn from that, and it just shows his fire. But he did get that hand injury in the pocket, so he played with a fractured hand. I think it proves he's tough as nails. I think this year for him and Kevin O'Connell was really just get him to learn this offense and feel comfortable. Or like he learned it in the last year while hurt, but like actually functioning in it and controlling it and owning it. But I think both of our teams, Maddie, going into next year have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I think with the Vikings, you can definitely see this season as a win following all the injuries at offensive line. I think that's when you can see it as a win. Dallas, look, the game against the Giants was just turned into a fucking joke, like halfway through, like Dak stepped out so Joe Milton could come in. Joe Milton looked fine. I thought he looked okay. Like, he made a few terrible plays, made a few good plays, but yeah, that wasn't the end of our season. The Giants fucking played themselves out of a first overall pick, considering the Raiders went out and won. I don't mind that from the Giants, the fact that they went out and won. I think that's good for their general vibes. They seem like a general vibes organization. But they should have
because one more win was going to change that franchise instead of 3 first-round picks.
3 first-round picks if you got the first overall pick. Yes, I do. Yeah, it was weird. That was just a weird game. The Raiders-Chiefs game was a weird game. But yeah, I think that the Cowboys go out and get Al Harris. I can't remember where he is now, but I think he's maybe at Green Bay. Chicago. Go out and get him. Is he at Chicago? Sick. Go out and get him. Bring him back to be our defensive coordinator. He's who should have been the defensive coordinator anyway.
I hear you guys are going after Flores.
It's always weird, I think, when people go from defensive coordinator to defensive coordinator somewhere else.
Unless I don't know. I don't think he'd do it. He seems to love Minnesota, and it sounds like if he stays, the Wilfs are willing to make him the highest paid coordinator in the league. So unless Jerry just says, I'm going to give you head coach money and you're going to make more than sawed off shoddy, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think if you have Jerry Jones on side in your lawsuit with the NFL, like that kind of helps. But like that, I just think I think that's a non-starter. I don't think you get guys who have defensive coordinating jobs somewhere else to come in and be the defensive coordinator for you.
I'm going to throw up if we lose Flores, even to a head coaching job. I'm just going to throw up.
Yeah, that'll be.
I hope I'm not standing in Buffalo Wild Wings waiting for a delivery, and then I see it on ESPN or something. I'll be sick. I won't even be able to drop it. I'll be like, oh.
That's the problem with us always doing live shows, Jay. What if that news comes up and you just throw up on screen immediately? That would be rough.
Well, it was a figurative throw up, but yes.
I mean, great content, Vikings fan throws up at Brian Flores leaving live on show. That would be great. Jay, to continue our reactions to the final week of the regular season, we have our MVP and rookie MVP votes. Jay, let's start with rookie MVP of week 18. This isn't our entire season MVP, everybody. That award show comes next week, I believe.
All right. There was so many guys you could have went with this week. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Some young quarterbacks went off, but shout out Riley Leonard, quarterback, Indianapolis Colts, first career start. And I think 21 to 34, 270 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, and 3 carries for 21 yards. Finished with a 94 passer rating and was nominated for NFL Rookie of the Week.
Yeah, I think considering what he came into, as well, with the whole stuff about Phillip Rivers being sat for what should have been his last game. Riley Leonard basically coming out and playing for his career and going up against the Houston Texans offense. I thought Riley Leonard looked pretty good.
Did he secure the lead for that starting job next year? And do they still have to go out and grab a Kirk Cousins or someone like that to hold down the fort?
I think that Riley Leonard has secured lifetime backup quarterback money for the rest of his life. I think if you're the Colts, you go out and get a Kirk Cousins or Kyler Murray or whoever's out there, until all of this stuff, it's when Daniel Jones comes back, is it not Daniel Jones's job? So maybe you keep Riley
Not
Leonard
next year though. We've talked about this. He is not playing Daniel Jones type football next year. It's a 2027 thing.
I agree.
And Carly Ursay just came out and said Matt Ballard and Shane Steichen are staying. She believes in him. I think Steichen should stay. I hate to say this because he's a Badger, but Ballard should be gone. The GM should be gone.
I agree. I think with just the way that the Colts season kind of ended up is just a weird anti-climax to the end of their season, just with all the injuries and stuff like that as well. I thought Riley Leonard played well though, so I don't mind that pick. Jay, I took my rookie MVPs because there was so many rookies that went off this week. I decided to take the rookie MVPs from games that mattered for playoffs. So I went to the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. And Jay, I could have easily picked Greg Zabel. That is PFF's rookie MVP of week 18. He was great at the guard position. But Jay, I thought the guy who shone on my screen and has shone all year round, Nick Omamwari, was one of the guys who was one of the difference makers for the Seahawks, being able to play guys like George Kittle, a big safety / center back, cornerback build is great for what the Seattle Seahawks do. So Nick Omamwari, and I think he's in the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year as well.
Jackson Dart and Tyler Shook went off also.
Yeah, Tyler Shook was great. Jackson Dart is sick. Fucking Jalen Hurts, Jackson Dart, and Jaden Daniels all in the Cowboys division. Jackson Dart might be the best one of those guys next year. He's, depending on how Jaden Daniels is recovering from his injuries and stuff. Jackson Dart has been unbelievable this year. Jay, your MVP for week 18, who you got?
I have a list of 4, but I'm just going to give you one now so I don't step on yours, and then I'll give a shout out after. Ramondre Stevenson, running back, New England Patriots, 153 total yards, 3 touchdowns. Patriots win over the Dolphins. Balled out.
Yeah, considering what Trayvon Henderson has been doing behind him, it was been easy to forget how good Ramondre Stevenson is on his day. The Patriots do have a 2-headed monster back there at running back. Jay, I've given it to a guy who came out in week 18, did what he needed to do to beat a record. I've given it to Myles Garrett for becoming the all-time single-season sack record leader with getting his 23 sacks. The reason I gave it to him wasn't just because of that. He was in the backfield the entire game, and I couldn't help but thinking again that Joe Burrow, the same as Aaron Rodgers last week, didn't want to be seen on highlight reels over and over again every time they talk about Myles Garrett's record-breaking season. That's what it looked like to me.
So I got some stats for you because I keep hearing Strahan says he broke it. I got the 16-game sack record. He took him 17. Other people have been saying it. Michael Strahan, 22 and a half sacks in 567 snaps that season. TJ Watt, 22 and a half sacks in 616 snaps that season. Myles Garrett, 23 sacks in 437 snaps.
Yeah,
130 less than Strahan and like 170 less than fucking TJ. So you guys can say what you want, but he did it in less snaps.
Yeah, and I think with the Strahan stuff, like, you know, he's going up against much more athletic quarterbacks. Like, I understand there's a lot more dropbacks as well. Like, there's a lot more dropbacks, so there's a lot more passing in the league, so there's more opportunity for sacks. But the quarterbacks are so much more agile. Like when you're watching them, even fucking Aaron Rodgers, man, was just doing everything he can to make sure that he wasn't sacked by Myles Garrett.
And Brett Favre laid down for Michael Strahan's record-breaking stack.
Yeah, people are saying that Joe Burrow did that, but Joe Burrow was in the pocket and Myles Garrett was on him. And I honestly think that Joe Burrow was trying to go to the floor to make sure it wasn't Myles Garrett that got him. That's what I think was going on. I
thought he went to the ground to make sure he didn't get blown up from the front, and then Garrett got him from behind. Wow. Okay. Anyway, I just said blown from the front and got him from behind, but yeah. Anyway, but I got to give a shout out, Mitch Trubisky, 4 touchdowns, 259. Ray Davis, 151 yards rushing on 21 carries. Zay Flowers, 138 and 2 touchdowns. So a bunch of people went off. And just an honorable mention, and I'll talk about it more in the playoff game. Shout out for the Bills defense for turning it on the last few weeks.
Yeah, definitely. I think with the interesting one for me in that melee is Trubisky, right? Like, he becomes an immediately interesting quarterback in the way that there's like 8 teams that need quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, and I don't know what his contract is, but if he's only signed there through this year, no matter what, you're getting paid as a backup.
Yeah, right. He's definitely getting paid as a backup, and he's definitely probably staying as a backup in Buffalo at worst. That's where he ends up being. But with is Buffalo right? Yeah. But with the teams needing guys, Trubisky becomes immediately interesting. He's come on quite a few times now and looked really good whenever Josh Daniels has needed needed his injury to be covered, you know? Like,
he's a guy you bring in to compete with somebody.
Yeah, it's like those guys, like, you know, like Jameis Winston, like, you know, he's not gonna, you know, he isn't it. Like, he's fun to have around. Or like Russell Wilson, do you ever bring Russell Wilson into another football team? Like, does he ever? There's spaces for those guys. Like Mitch, we need a new generation of Russell Wilsons and Fitzpatrick.
Not now after he got the Giants in trouble by saying he played injured and it was never on the injury report.
Classic. Well done, Russell Wilson. Good job. But like if you're the Indianapolis Colts, do you just go, okay, well, Riley Leonard looks good?
If you're going with Riley Leonard, you bring Trubisky in to compete for that job.
Yeah, you go like, let's bring in Trubisky, and if Trubisky looks great, then we're fine. Like, if you're the Browns, you bring him in and you're not sold on Shador, which I think you should be. Just give Shador the keys, but you may as well for like a couple of years if you're the Browns.
And see what happens. Hey, yeah. I know I put this in the group chat, but Browns, go big. You'll be the story every week. Just go hire Dion.
Yeah, depending on what you want to do. Like Dion's
they ain't gonna win, so go be the story every week.
Yeah, exactly. Like that could just be very fun vibes around the organization for a couple of years while you like draft really well. Like the Browns have drafted pretty well for like a couple of years.
Yeah, that's why Andrew Berry kept his job.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's drafted pretty well.
I don't know if people realize that's where Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah came from. He went from the 49ers, then he followed Andrew Berry to the Browns, and then became the Vikings GM.
Yeah, they've been decent. Jay, moving on to GMJ, and this week I'm going to be asking Jay, as a GM, which team out of the playoff teams would you be the most worried about going in as the GM? Would you be like the most worried about losing your job during these playoffs if you're the GM of that team?
The Packers.
Okay. Why the
Policy
Packers?
already said at the beginning of the year their jobs aren't guaranteed. And if you're one and done in the playoffs, I could see him and LaFleur both being out. Policy's the one who it sounds like made the trade for Micah. Policy's the guy who seems to be running the ship now that Mark Murphy's gone. So I think he wants his own guys in there, and sounds like Gutekunst could be on the way out. So to me, if I'm Brian Gutekunst, I'm the most nervous. Do I think that getting a little rid of LaFleur is the smartest idea? No, because I don't know who you replace him with, but I do think he's running. He's the best he's going to get. This is what we see. Even with Rodgers on MVP seasons, they couldn't get to the Super Bowl. So maybe a new voice, but I don't think you fire him this year because unless you got somebody else lined up that we're not thinking about, I don't know who you turn to. But Brian Gutekunst definitely could be in trouble.
Yeah, LaFleur immediately becomes another great coaching candidate for all the other teams. Like LaFleur to the Tennessee Titans would make sense to me, for example.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that makes sense. I think the Packers have, the Packers saw themselves as Super Bowl contenders at the start of the year. And now now they're going in as the 7th seed. And I understand that Micah Parsons is injured, but a D-end being injured shouldn't be, if you're a Super Bowl contender, one DN being injured is not the reason that you shouldn't be a contender anymore. Jordan Love is back fit, who you've spent $50 million on. I think he's the 2nd or 3rd most expensive QB in the NFL as well. Like, if you're the GM, you've put that together. Like, let's see what you've got. Jay, for me, on that question, I think it would be the guys in charge of the Buffalo Bills, Sean McDermott and the GM in Buffalo as well. This is the season.
They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I know. I do think, especially Sean McDermott, I'd be like, Sean McDermott immediately becomes one of the better coaches, like for the like as well. And if you're then one of 10, like the Bills do become the best job out there as well. But if you're the GM, owners have got rid of GMs for less than going into a playoff. If they go in and they come out one and done, who do they go? Who have they got?
Yeah, but the Buffalo Bills don't do that.
Yeah, the Bills are a bit more sensible than that. But it is like the playoffs where Patrick Mahomes hasn't made it, Lamar Jackson hasn't made it, Joe Burrow hasn't made it. You've got the best quarterback. This is the Buffalo Bills' time to reach the Super Bowl. And the Bills, to be honest, anything less than a Super Bowl, this is a bad season for them. Anything less than an AFC Championship game, this is a bad season for them.
I'll give a tease. There might be one of us on that show that think that Buffalo's sitting at home after the first week of the playoffs.
All right. I like it. Follow us on Thursday to see more about that. And Jay, let's finish off this show where we'll sign off. Regular season in the books, another one done with our NFL Week 18 overreactions. Jay, what you got?
The NFL did everything they could to get Baltimore into the playoffs and still failed.
Go on. Give us more.
They were calling shit on the Steelers that they were letting go for the Ravens all fucking game. There was 2 pass interferences that were absolutely ridiculous that they didn't call. So I'm just saying, I'm not going to change up now. Let's just ride out. There's something with these refs. But that was a weird fucking game. I don't really believe they're rigging games, but that's how bad it looked.
Yeah, it was literally the first play of the game, the blindside block on Zay Flowers, when just the written rule is just completely different to what they gave a blindside block for. Like, it just wasn't like a blindside block, like maybe an illegal block in the black, but not really either as well. And yeah, the fact that that's how the game started out, I thought, shit, like, in like GTA where it's like, here we go again. That's what I thought was about to happen in that game. I was like, just for fuck's sake. Yeah. Jay, for me, Mine is about, issues more about the world over, but this is a big issue that I find with the NFL as like, a European watching it here. I feel sorry for a lot of NFL fans who need to find a way to protest against the oligarchs who own their teams. Some of these teams make the same mistakes over and over again. They don't listen to the fans. And the only way that fans have the ability to do anything against these owners is by not showing up to games. But even now, that doesn't matter because that's not where the main revenue comes from in the NFL. So in like British football, if you're upset with your team, you just all stop showing up to games and you carry out walkout protests and none of you buy tickets. And then that really hurts the teams. But these NFL owners, that doesn't matter to them. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter to them at all whether their stadium is empty or not. They'll pump stadium noise in there anyway. They'll have people who have shown up. Everybody just moves down to the front row to make it look, and on the TV angle to make it look like they are there. And then like it doesn't hurt their pocket at all. So they need to find a way to protest against these NFL owners who are just fucking over their teams again and again and again. And, we were talking about it with Cincinnati. That's the team who triggered it. For me, to be honest, like, how is it fair that Cincinnati are just held hostage to having the poorest owner in the league over and over again, who doesn't seem to want to go out and win games? How is it fair that the Browns have constant problems with ownership? How is it fair that the Raiders have constant problems with ownership? It's meant to be a league of like, where anybody can win at any time, but the same teams are shit over and over again. And it's time for fans to be able to find a way to stand up against these oligarchs, put some red flags behind me, let's get this socialist shit up, and I'll be completely boycotted from coming to the World Cup in the US now.
Two things. One, I think you unfairly threw the Raiders in there. I'll just say that I think Mark Davis has done everything he can, but he's had some bad luck. Look at the Henry Ruggs situation and Derek Carr. Derek Carr was just good enough to not get rid of him. But I think you have the right idea, and I think you're just slightly wrong. I think if they stop going to games, financially with the share, you're right, it wouldn't hurt them, but they would be the talking point of every sports fucking talk show every single day. So they would look so bad that you would force changes if fans stop going. The only problem is fans are never going to stop going. The Browns are always sold out. The Packers couldn't win more than 4 games when I was a kid, and they have they have 20-year wait list for season tickets.
Yeah, you need to find a different way to protest and walkouts, because also mainly in the UK, it's really easy for you to not show up to your team's games because there are 20 a year. There are 20 home games in a year. So it's a lot easier to just not show up for one game. But when there's only 8 in a season, like, it becomes really difficult to then not show up.
And if you're a season ticket holder who paid tens of thousands of dollars for your seats, are you going to miss a game?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not like it is a more difficult thing. So they need to find a different way to protest. There needs to be
it would work.
A way to protest these oligarchs who are in charge of NFL teams.
I do think it would work, though. Like, if the Bengals fans just stopped going for like 3 or 4 games, like, they would be the news cycle for fucking 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you want real change, then that is a good way to go. But there's, it's a sacrifice you've got to be willing to make. And is it a sacrifice that people are actually willing to make? Who knows? But no. That's my rant about oligarchs at the top of the NFL for this show. If you enjoy that, then please come back to us. We talk about that regularly because I can't not talk about that kind of stuff, unfortunately. And that's why, Jay, I'm definitely not going to be able to make it to the World Cup this year, because there is no way that I'm getting allowed in. When they search through our social media, I will be fucked. But anyway, thanks very much, everybody. Come back and join us for another wonderful regular season of American football next year, and join us for the postseason, which we start our coverage on Thursday.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Get ready. We're going to have Well Beyond the Arc coming up. There's so many shows now on the channel I'm not even going to tell you about. I'm just going to tell you to hit the notification button so you don't miss a show. And if you want to support the work, you can hit the QR code above for Buy Me a Coffee. There's a link in the description. But the best thing you can do for us is like, follow, and share. So thank you guys so much. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.